So my question is, how might my practice contribute to world making using speculative power, the erotic and chaos? And yeah, I guess I'd just love to know whether this is something that you guys feel like you can relate to in your own practices, and your thoughts.
I think what I do, I agree with Marina. I also relate back to my poetry practice. I think because a lot of things I feel at the moment, I feel that the physical world. I think what I do, I agree with Marina. I also relate back to my poetry practice. I think because a lot of things I feel at the moment, I feel that the physical world is quite constraining, where the one's imagination can be really like wild and chaotic, echoing the thing. And I think because I do want to be painting and creating physical things, but because I'm constrained with my resources, materials, I think words or language is a good way to convey something that could be happening and is happening in some ways. A lot of my work back from my previous presentation is exploring the relationship between like family relationship, but actually I also explore other relationship with the erotic in response to art as well. So I would this comes to like being non-binary and kind of explore the transness in my work.
Appreciate about them was them sort of going like, okay, you can do the craft, I know that about you now, so what about intention? And I was like, huh? Intention? What do you mean? What I think? Like, don't you want me to prove to you how smart I am? Like, I'm so used to like doing that for myself and seeing if I can get better and stronger, and like there's something different about having an intention and then playing around with the clever bit to see what makes your intention, right? That like the intention comes first. It's not about, oh, I'm just wildly trying to prove how good I am at this and get better at this, and then hopefully right at the end I might personalize it a bit and then there we go. Do you know what I mean? It's like a completely different way of looking at things. And Jinhao, when we looked at your work last month and how much you talked on intentionality and how much that is married to craft, like you do not separate them from each other. And I think I have separated them for a long time because of the way that I view craft and art and intelligence, and I do think it's about being in spaces that maybe take out that eros, you know, and I'm not used to living on that eros, even when I do a free write and it's like wild and crazy and, you know, intent, even when I'm editing, I'm just thinking like, okay, what's good? What looks good? What sounds good? I'm not going like, what do I want? Like, what do I want to use? It's just not something that I have thought for a while. And I just was like, oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. I want to chime in on the craft a bit. Sorry, maybe too much poetry talk. I'd always go back to a chat that Patricia Smith did on the Versus podcast, if you search for it, that she talked about how forms as a craft thing, where you have to learn, there's a sonnet, what's they about, there is, you know, couplets, there is, sestina, what they are about. Like, obviously the craft is about understanding the shape of the poem, but actually she also questioned the intentionality of the form. So they ask you, what is that form is serving you intentionally? And she was using sestina as the example, which in short terms is like, I think 6 lines each stanza, and you have 6 stanzas, and then you have 3 lines that compose the words at the end of each 6 lines, like six words you've chosen. maybe I'm not explaining Sistina very well, but it's a very technical one because you have to find the 6 words that you want to sort of write about, and then create a line, 6 lines that ending with those 6 words, and you have to shuffle in the order, and then you come to a third line, like an ending with the 3 lines that kind of completes it. So it's very technical, very crafty, shall we say. But then she said, okay, instead of asking Sistina like, oh, this is me being clever, I can write a Sistina, using these 6 words. But she said, what is the deeper question this Sistina is asking you? And she come up with one of them is like, what are the 6 things you can't let go of? Like then the Sistina become meaningful, has a purpose. You're finding words not just random, but actually those 6 words you have to think about. I'm not just picking up, you can, apple, soaps and planets together, but once you look within yourself, what are the 6 things that you can't let go of? It reframes what Sistina is about. It's not about craftiness, it's about a deeper meaning, chaos, eros, the speculative powers, it's very much that, because then you write a Sistina to answer that question, to be like, what are the things I can't let go of? And then through that process, then you create new things out of it. Because I don't know, but by writing that, I might be able to find out what are the things that I can't let go of. So I just feel that's something, I just want to echo it, like craft and intentionality and the speculative power and chaos into.
I love that. I want to do that. I want to know about the things that I can't let go of. I love them.
Yeah, it's like a practice process. Great. Versus Patricia Smith, the season 1 with Smith and Franny Choi. Love it. I shared in the group chat before, but I'm not in this group chat, but like other group chats.
It makes me think about because I'm not coming from like poetry or really writing, but like design, I guess. And in that, there's a lot of like iterative things that you have to do. Like the first thing, you do this in poetry as well, and I think it's a really nice crossover between like writing things and making things. Is this like, and even like painting things. Like there's always layers to it. And like the layers are the really beautiful thing for you to get something from. And I guess that's what Joelle is trying to tell you. It's like, what's your intention? Like, what are you putting in? Yeah, it's definitely something I really think about. Anyone else?
Yeah, my response is maybe I'll have to look back because there's some NDAs involved in this response, but I'm thinking a lot about the erotica and pornography because for 2 years I wrote for a video game which adapted romance novels into interactive video games. And so it was this very like commodification of the pornographic bits. And I thought, I was initially doing it like, this pays great, I'm gonna get so much money, it can be so freeing. And actually I was like, it drained me of all creativity for so long. Because like, I'm literally just making people pay to experience blowjob on the page, which is, there's nothing wrong, but I was like, but it's actually really predictable. And I found that there wasn't any surprise in that, because you're like, it's that exchange. And to me, thinking about the eros for me is also like, and speculative chaos is like, what other moments of titillation, and like I actually don't mean that necessarily in a sexual way, I mean that in like a curious making way, are possible, and how does that relate to the erotic? And this also made me think about Octavia E. Butler. She has spoke a lot in her interviews about the power of masturbation as a tool for release when writing and thinking about where she wanted her stories to go. Also very speculative writing. And I think the returning to the body and returning to the body as an erotic source, for me that's dancing, for me that's also masturbation, is so crucial for me. And that feels really weird that I have to do that to write, but like oftentimes it is what, there's a disconnect with the body, and then returning to the body in a way that's like, be that through dancing or through touching, feels very genderless for me, feels very, and then allows possibilities to explore erotic in my writing. And again, I think what that can lead to excites me more. And I think maybe that also comes from my very Midwestern, like recovering red state background of like shame. And like I think everything I'm doing is this work to shed shame.
And then
Yeah.